Andrew and Tiffany had recently moved to a new city for his job. She had to leave her previous position, but with her skills and experience, it didn't take long to find another good company. This new location, Tiffany was super ambitious, always chasing her goals. She decided that now at this new job she was going to focus on moving up the ladder. She met her colleagues, found out how things worked in their team, and got fired up by some of their personal success stories. People who put in extra hours, worked their tails off, and eventually got big promotions. So Tiffany decided she'd do the same for a while. She started staying at the office for an extra hour or so. Most days, when she explained it to Andrew, she said it would help her climb the career ladder. He didn't object. In fact, he was proud of her progress, and they still managed to spend time together. They both had major life plans. So bringing in extra cash definitely wasn't a bad thing. Months passed like that. Sometimes Tiffany stayed even later than usual. One evening it was already close to 9. And Andrew got worried. She'd told him on the phone she'd be home soon, but then the call dropped. Andrew stood at the kitchen window gazing out at the parking lot. Below, suddenly a white car pulled up near their building. A few moments later, ESP spotted Tiffany stepping out, saying a friendly goodbye to the driver, though Andrew couldn't see the person's face, then shutting the door behind her. A surge of anger and suspicion flooded him. Who's dropping off my wife at this hour? He thought he ran out of their apartment, wearing just his slippers, but by the time he reached Tiffany, the driver had already gone. Who was that? Andrew asked, trying to catch his breath after sprinting downstairs. That was a ride. Share car, she answered. Come on, let's head. In Andrew's mood darkened. Usually when Tiffany used a ride share, she'd ride in the back, never up front, chatting so casually. And she definitely didn't wave goodbye like an old friend. The whole thing felt off. So we decided to keep an eye on things over the next few days. Strangely, after that, no unknown car came. She'd either take public transport or an official taxi, even arriving home right on time on certain days, which made Andrew happy. Eventually, he let go of his suspicions. Life settled into its normal routine again. But the spark and closeness in their relationship felt a bit faded. Tiffany seemed to be throwing all her energy into work. Then, one day, a woman showed up at Andrew's workplace. She introduced herself as Emily and said she needed to talk about something concerning his wife. He freaked out, thinking maybe Tiffany got hurt or something, and demanded details on the spot. Emily told him it wasn't an emergency, then proposed they sit down in the first floor cafe to talk privately. Once they sat at a small table, she began explaining. Turns out Emily was the wife of Stephen V., the head of Tiffany's department for the last few years. I started suspecting my husband of cheating, she said, clearly distraught. She fiddled with her wedding ring, and that's when Andrew realized she was very pregnant. I tried not to believe it, but every week the signs got worse, she continued. Finally, Andrew couldn't hold back. I'm sorry, he said, but what does this have to do with Tiffany? Emily took a deep breath, tears brimming. I hired a private investigator. Turns out my husband's having an affair with your wife. She showed Andrew photos, the boss leaving the office with Tiffany on his arm, helping her into his car, them kissing inside it. Andrew recognized the vehicle. It was the same one he'd seen that night. Everything clicked for a moment. He just stared at the pictures in shock, then looked at the pregnant woman across from him. Tears splashed onto her blouse. Poor thing, she's expecting. Andrew thought, feeling a burst of pity for her. For a moment, he even forgot his own pain. You're not staying with him, are you, Hesked? Of course not, Emily replied, and I had to let you know what was going on, so you'd know you've been deceived. This isn't the first time he's gone after a new female employee, but I've never dared to really check until now. And well, it seems I was right. She finished bitterly. Andrew thought, yeah, you were right, and started brainstorming. He asked Emily for a few more details about The company then shared his plan. She agreed to help the next morning. Tiffany walked into the office only to be greeted by Anasty surprise flyers plastered everywhere showing photos of her and Stephen. In some compromising positions, her co-workers whispered. Behind her back, shooting glances her way when she entered her boss's office. He looked pale as ash eat. The company didn't actually belong. To him, he was just a hired manager. So, you could guess how the owners would react to these flyers being fired was inevitable. If there was any silver lining for Tiffany, it was that Andrew supposedly didn't know anything. He wasn't acquainted with her co-workers, and they likely wouldn't track him down to spill the news. Even if I get fired, I won't lose everything. She told herself that day she got sent home. However, her hope that Andrew was clueless soon proved false. He answered the phone when she called him, and in a cold voice told her, "Your stuff is with the neighbor. Go pick it up. I'm filing for divorce, not knowing what else to do." She checked into a cheap hotel for a while. Then she realized that messing with the boss had put her on the wrong side of some powerful people. Turned out Emily's father was a big name in town and didn't take kindly to anyone who messed with his daughter, so Tiffany, not wanting more trouble, packed up and moved back to her hometown. By then, her big career dreams had shriveled away.